Do you ever see things online that are Montessori or claim to be Montessori, and you just wonder, is Montessori really worth it? Is it all that it hypes up to be? Do I really need to do that? What is this all about? It seems kind of confusing. Well, today I'm going to share my experience after 3.5 years of using Montessori in our home with my twin boys, and let you know if I think Montessori is really worth it or not. Hello and welcome. My name is Emma. I am a mom of 3.5-year-old identical twin boys. We've been using the Montessori method in our home since they were born. I am a trained Montessori guide. I spent many years teaching in a classroom, in a Montessori classroom. When I found out I was having twins, I decided to come home and bring this method into our home in practical ways. And I have been doing that for almost the last 4 years, which is pretty hard to believe that it's already been that long. And I've learned a lot along the way. There have been good moments, there have been really hard moments, there's been things that I would definitely do again, and things that I'm like, I'm good. I think we tried that and I'm good. I don't need to do any more of that. So that's what we're going to dive into in today's video. If you're new here, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. There's a new video every week. You can also find information for my blog down below, where you'll find tons of blog posts and resources for you. Is Montessori worth it? If I were to just have to give one answer without diving in, I would say yes. Yes, it has been so worth it. It has been such a beautiful experience. It reminds me of faith in many ways, in that there are these ideas, these principles, these guidelines of which we can use to help us on our journey to achieve an outcome. So in faith, we have so many models in scripture of how we ought to live, and these act as like guardrails for our life to get us to heaven. And the Montessori method has given me as a mother a framework with which to see my children, my home, but ultimately myself. And I think that's one of the most important parts, and been something that has been the most worth it in the last 3.5 years, is how much that I have grown as an individual, as a mother, as a wife, as a homemaker, because of this lens through which I can see the world and see children. And Montessori has helped me to do that. So like I said earlier, I went to Montessori training. I am trained at the elementary level, and that training is really formative in preparing you as the adult to do this work in the classroom with children. But for me, it didn't just end there. It's influenced and impacted how I see children all around me, and now my own children. And I think when you boil Montessori down, you kind of come up with 3 main things. So we have the child, of course. We have our environment, our home, that we call it the prepared environment. And we have ourselves, the adult, or we are called to be the prepared adult, someone who, really takes this on as a responsibility to prepare themselves to best meet the needs of the children in their care. And it's these 3 things that work together as like a triangle, and it's hard to separate one from the other because they all play off of one another in so many little intricate ways. People see Montessori from an aesthetic point of view. So I'm gonna go through different areas of our home from the prepared environment standpoint, and kind of ask myself a question like, is this been worth it, doing things this way? And maybe what would I like next not do? What would I do better or differently. I'm gonna start with kind of the two keystone like Montessori spaces that I see, one of which is a Montessori bedroom. I think it differs a lot from traditional nurseries with a crib. A Montessori bedroom typically has a floor bed, and we've used floor beds since the boys were born. Once they moved out of a bassinet, they moved onto floor beds. I have a lot of different videos and blog posts all about it, so if you're wanting like a deep dive and like how to do it, how to set it up, a recommendation for floor beds, I'll put that all down in the description box below. But ultimately, a floor bed is a mattress on the floor or a frame that's low to the ground that allows the child independence in getting in and out of their bed. And you can kind of think of it as we prepare the environment for the child to move freely and be safe. And we acknowledge that the child is the one who ultimately puts themselves to sleep. They can recognize when they are tired, and we will prepare the space and kind of the environment to support that goal. And a floor bed is a really awesome way to do that. Has a floor bed been worth it? Like 100% yes. And yet we've also had seasons where we weren't able to exclusively use a floor bed. We had a stage where the boys, we had only one bedroom for them, and it was difficult. They would fight and they were starting to hurt one another, and so we had to separate them, and one would be in a pack and play and one was on the floor bed. And we did that for a season, and that was also good too, and that worked, and that was what we had to do to ensure safety. But what I love most about the floor bed is that it just felt right. You know, they could just come and go. It honestly like extended rest time so much when they were babies, so it gave me a lot more margin in my day because they wouldn't fall asleep right away, but they were content to just kind of be and roam around, and maybe they found a book to like look at or something to grasp onto or play with, and then they'd fall asleep. And then when they'd wake up, the same was true. They usually weren't like sad or upset. They could just get off of their bed and go find something to do in their room until they needed me. It gave them a lot of freedom that was appropriate, and it also gave me a lot of margin and space in my day. So we still use floor beds. The boys are now 3.5. They are currently still in separate bedrooms just because that makes sleeping better. They just sleep longer into the morning, and we haven't needed to separate them or put them back in one room. So it's worked out really well. So yes, using a Montessori floor bed has totally been worth it in my opinion. I will do it again. God willing, we have more children, and I would recommend it if it's something you're curious about to give it a try. It was super nice when I was like nursing or just in those middle of the night wake ups. You're not like leaning over crib bars to comfort your child. You can just lay there right next to them, and that was so convenient. So I feel like it's for the child in a lot of ways, but it also supported me as the adult in taking care of them. The other like big area that's Montessori, or that you see a lot of child independence, I guess, is the Montessori kitchen. And we have been involving our boys in the kitchen for a very long time, since they could stand. We got a learning tower. They were probably like 17 months old, I think. As soon as they were kind of solidly standing, they were kind of right there with me in the kitchen in the action. And there has been so much good that has come from that time together. They've learned so much. Their skills have developed so much. And I think allowing our children to be present with us in the kitchen, and finding practical activities and tasks that they can be doing is really valuable and super worth it. And it's something that they need and they desire and they really love. So all of our time in the kitchen has totally been worth it. I think the thing that has made it the most easy and possible to do it regularly is a learning tower, because it gets them up to counter height. I'm not having to like cater everything to their level. I will say, before we had one, I do remember like trying to get them involved doing things in the like kitchen like tasks, but I didn't have a learning tower, and that was more difficult because I'm like getting down on their level, which is a wonderful thing, but in like the day-to-day rhythm of life, when things are moving and you just have to like get dinner on the table, it's sometimes impractical to move at that pace. I would love if I could do that at all times, but I can't, and I wasn't able to. And so a learning tower has kind of brought them up in an honoring way to my level, in a way that I can work with them and keep doing the things that I need to do to run a household. So it kind of meets everybody's needs. Again, a lot of resources on ideas of getting your child involved in the kitchen. I'll link that all down below. I think I have a video. Laundry's done. I think I have a video all about just activities that you could have your child doing at the Learning Tower. And best that these things are really practical things that you're already doing in your life. They don't need to be curated just to your child. They can be really practical things that are going on in your kitchen already. If you were to think about Montessori, you probably are like picturing in your mind these images and these perfectly prepared toy rooms with all this stuff, and it looks expensive. It looks like, how could someone maintain all of that? It looks unrealistic. You wonder, like, is all that worth it? Are all the Montessori toys worth it? Is the wooden toys worth it? And I'll say this, I think when I started, I had a desire to have some of those things, because I wanted them in our home, like the little object permanence box where you put the ball in and it goes and drops down and it goes through the little hole, and the specific puzzles and all these things that we can put into our environments. And I think they are beautiful and they are wonderful, but like, you don't need them if that's not, like, if you don't have the space to allot for it, or the budget doesn't allow for it. Like, there is so much that we can offer our children in a sensorial way that give them these rich experiences without getting more stuff. And some of the things like make it really practical so that they can do their daily life in an adult world. Like, if you imagine a child, most of what is around them is for adults. And so we do have to work to accommodate our homes to allow them to be able to function well in these spaces. But no, I don't think you need all of the things. Have all those things been worth it? Honestly, I think they help sometimes. I'm grateful to have them at certain times, but there are other times that I just want to use kind of the real world for those things as well. Like, here's an example. I love our pickler triangle. We don't have a really good space to store it or to keep it out all the time. And I don't like having things taking up extra space. So a lot of the time it's in storage, quite frankly. And it's been nice when we've had it, but I don't think it's necessary. I think there's a lot of things that a child can go experience at a playground, just out in the real world, and we can allow our children to have that risky play without buying a pickler triangle. So I think it can be simpler than it often looks online. And we have to just keep in mind when we're preparing our environment, like the three main things of, is this supporting my child's development? And it very well could be. And is it essential? And if it's not essential, there's probably another way that you could support your child's development without buying another toy or activity. Which lends me to curated trays and activities. I've done a lot of them. I've set up fall activities, 4th of July activities. I've got videos on them. And I think they're really fun. I think they can be great when we have the capacity and the desire to do those things. However, I really don't know that they're all necessary. I think they're great, but I think we can also find ways to weave them into just daily life, and it doesn't always have to be so prepared in our homes. Now I find myself in like a unique place where we will be homeschooling, and so it's like going to be finding that balance between like real life experiences and preparing our home for learning. And I love Montessori and I want it to be a big part of our homeschool, but I also don't want to like make a Montessori school in my home, if that makes sense. I want to take the experiences that our home offers naturally and use those as like an avenue for learning, rather than having to like curate everything in like a very particular way. So again, all that to say, has all of that been worth it? Honestly, no, I don't think it has. I don't think all the time and energy I spent on like these little activities was always worth it. Some of them were. Some of them have been helpful. I've really liked having like a Play-Doh kit set up together and intentionally like preparing that, because that like prolongs their play. I've really liked doing book rotations and having books forward facing so that they kind of are like calling out to the child. I've really liked having, when they were little, doing like a themed basket where I would just like gather different things from the kitchen or different things from the bathroom, like a toothbrush and a hairbrush and little objects that they could explore. That was really fun. But I think back to like some of the things, and I don't think it's essential. I think it could be fun. I think they're great ideas, but I don't think if you're not doing those things, you're like not honoring the Montessori method, if that makes sense. So that is my tidbit, my thoughts on toys and activities. And I think it can be easy, like I'll fall into this of like feeling guilty, like I don't have enough shelf workout or different like curated activities, but it also changes as your kids get older. Like, because now that my boys are older, we have an atrium at our church, which is a Montessori environment for the catechesis. It uses the catechesis of the Good Shepherd. And so when they're in that space, they're really getting that experience of like a work on a tray, bringing it to your table, doing the work. And I love that. And I'm so grateful they have that experience, that I feel a little bit of the pressure removed from having to have our home always run like that, because I just can't do that always. Like when we start in homeschool, I feel like there'll be a phase of our day, you know, like a block of time that we do run like a work cycle. And then other parts of the day, it's just play. It's just the work. It's the things that need to get done. And I think more important than having it all be perfect is what is the big picture here. And we're looking at, how does my interactions with my child, my environment, support my child's needs for independence and practical experiences? How is that all working together? And I think you definitely can meet those goals of giving your child purposeful work, of making your home accessible, and having a really rich, like varied experience without having little trays of everything set up. You can definitely do that. Again, I did a lot of it, and it's fun, and I liked it, and it was really enjoyable to see them do it. But I don't think it's all totally necessary. Or you can do it on like a smaller scale, like just have like 1 or 2 different things out that you have the capacity for. So those are my honest thoughts about Montessori toys, activities, and if they're really worth it after 3 years. I do think those younger ages, like 18 months, when they're just like so much of that fine motor coordination is just coming, like it does give them like those transferring pom-poms with the tongs. Like it's really a neat activity for them to do, and a really good practical work, that it takes their whole being to do that. And that's what the child needs, is they need something that like requires their attention and their concentration. And so to that extent, I would say like, yes, I do think it's worth it. I think it's worth it to prepare your home in a way to allow for those experiences. But I also think that it doesn't all have to be pretty on a tray. And I think our world and our environment and just doing daily life tasks and things also do a really good job of meeting that purpose. I want to look at both the child, the adult, and the environment and kind of pinpoint for you what has been the most worth it for me to do in my 3.5 years of doing this. First, let's look at the child. I think what's been most worth it for the child is in doing Montessori at home has been when I understand who my child is, like developmentally, I have a greater empathy and understanding of the things that we're living in day-to-day life, of things that could be frustrating. I have maybe a little bit more patience with, because I understand that, like, oh, they have a sensitive period for tiny objects, and so that's why they're like sitting there looking at this ant and not getting into the car when I'm asking them to, you know, like there's an understanding of who the child really is and the goodness of them that Montessori has helped me to see, because of how like deeply she understood the developmental needs of children. So I will link it down below, but I would recommend some of Dr. Montessori's books if you want like a more approachable book and you have a baby or toddler. There's a book called Montessori Baby and the Montessori Toddler. Those are two separate books by Simone Davis and Hanifa, I forget her last name, co-authored it. And those are really like simplified versions, I guess, but really practical, tactical books to get you started. I was really struck by reading The Absorbent Mind by Dr. Montessori, and just as she explains like who the 0 to 6 year old child is and how amazing this time in their life is, it helped me to appreciate just all the things that our children are doing at these ages and how amazing they are when sometimes they feel frustrating or inconvenient. It kind of gave me the why behind what they're doing, which therefore helps me be a better parent. So yeah, I think it's totally been worth it from a Montessori standpoint because of the depth of understanding of children that the Montessori method allows you to have. So check out some of those resources if you want more information or kind of want to like dive in. I'm going to go next into the prepared environment and if having a Montessori prepared environment is worth it, and why you might do it. I think the prepared environment serves a few purposes. One, it's serving the child. So our environment, like, it might be smaller, things are shorter, things are at their level. And this is definitely worth it because our children can do things more independently. And that means they need us less and they learn how to solve their problems more. And I want all of that. It's great. And so when we can prepare our environment to meet their needs, everybody's happier. So I think that's one main purpose of the environment. However, I've always talked about how Montessori environments aim to be beautiful and orderly. And the order isn't just for the children or for yourself. It also helps us train and guide our children at how we are to function in this space. So when things have a place and we put them back in their place, then when they're out of place, you know, we have it like, well, this is where it goes. This is its belonging. And we can only have those kind of boundaries and guardrails in our homes when we take the time to prepare them to function smoothly. So I think taking the time to prepare an environment is so worth it. And I don't know if I'm just highly affected by my environment, that When things are out of order, I feel kind of out of order and chaotic and unsettled. I know that this is true for children as well. They have a strong sensitivity for order in their first plane of development, and we can support that need of theirs and that like characteristic that they have by having an ordered home. It doesn't mean it's always clean and tidy. It's not going to be, but that's like the ideal, right? A place for everything and everything in its place. And this just helps everything to move smoothly. And I think for me, in preparing the environment, it's like the time of preparing myself to love them more. I feel like it's a way that I can like love my children by taking the time to take care of this space and kind of tell them like, hey, this is for you. Like hanging a picture low at their level where they can enjoy it is saying like, this home isn't just for me, it's for you too. Having things where they're accessible and they know where they are and they can get them by themselves is just, you know, honoring them as a person in this home, in this family. And that kind of leads me into the adult. I think the greatest thing that Montessori has instilled in me and that this work has like cultivated is this idea that children are so capable. And I truly believe that. And I don't always act and respond to them like they're capable. I am guilty of rushing and moving them along and doing things for them that they could do for themselves because I'm in a hurry. But I do know, and I've experienced both in the classroom and with my own children, how capable children are. And it's just beautiful to see their work and to see the pride that they get in this work that they do. And how eager they are, especially at a young age, to help us. As the adult, that has been probably the thing that's been most worth it, is seeing that children are capable, that I can really support my children in their development by giving them a variety of experiences. I think just to recap, Montessori isn't about the pretty things. It's not about, you know, just doing it because that's the Montessori way. I think Montessori, instead of like a product, it is a lens through which we view the world. And I think that's what Dr. Montessori helped people to do and see, is to see children differently, to see that because children are these amazing people who are small, yet capable of so much, yet have this great need for work, that we then, as the adult, need to change how we interact with them, how we allow them opportunities to do purposeful work, and we might need to change our environment so that they can be optimally, you know, fed, if I could say that, you know, that they have like the optimal experience and can access things. And I think that's what it really boils down to, is for me, it's not necessarily about the stuff or about doing it right all the time, because I'm not doing it right all the time. Like there's so many moments where I'm like, oh, that was not great. That wasn't the best way to do it. I lost my temper. I got frustrated. I didn't speak respectfully. But it's then this lens through which I see my child and I see my home and I see myself, that I can say, oh, okay, I'm going to try something different next time, or I'm going to do it. I'm going to strive to be a little bit better in this area because I know who you are as a child and I know what it is that you deserve from me, from our home, in your experiences. And I recognize that like my child they're going to grow up one day and they're going to be off in the world. And it's these experiences in our home and out in our communities that are shaping them. And it is through, like, this is something I gained so much in training is like, it is through the work of the hand that a human constructs themselves. And so we have to give our children things to do with their hands that are purposeful and engaging for their development. And that's going to change as they get older. What's interesting, something that's interesting to a 2-year-old is going to be very different than what is engaging to the mind and the hand to a 12-year-old. But the approach stays the same, even though our environment and the child and even ourselves will be growing. It's this like moving thing always. But it's been so helpful to me as a mother. I'm so grateful for just this approach. And it's kind of like a lifestyle, and there's not one way to do it. It's going to look different in everybody's homes, and I just think that's what's so beautiful about it. So hopefully you came away with this video with something new to think about, to consider if doing Montessori in your home with your children is worth it. If you have any more questions, please drop them down in the comment section below. I would love to answer them. Well, you guys, that's all for today. I will catch you in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.